Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Valerie's art class and my studio here at home. I want to start out by doing all of the steps that need to be done, but first let me explain the brushes. This is my big brush to do bigger spaces. This brush does detail. This brush does blending and feathering and dry brushing. This brush is a fan brush. It can be worked this way or this way to make bushes and trees and grass. These are angle brushes. These are good to be used for flowers and trees as well. I have two different sizes. I have a bigger one and I have a smaller one. And then I have the square brush, square tip on the end. It can be used also skinny ways or flat ways, and I have two sizes of those. Alright, the other thing I have is a palette knife. I happen to have a wide palette knife that I might use during this painting. I also have a protractor which makes circles. It's always good to have one of these before you start your painting. Now on my paints, I have my dark brown paint. This is the acrylic paint by Simply, and I think I paid $1 for this tube, and it's dark brown. I also have a light brown, and this is Craft Smart paint, and it's really good paint. It's not too thin and it's not too watery. I have my black paint. You always have to have black paint. I have two shades of blue. I have a lighter blue, and I have a darker blue, and I have a green blue, which is here. This is a greenish blue. I mix those colors to do my skies. I also have pink, and I have red. I have violet, which is really pretty. If you're going to do a sunset or some skies at night, that's always good to use, or flowers. And then I have yellow. Okay, so with these paints that I'm going to use today, I'm going to start my first layer. When you do a painting, you always do it in layers. Your first layer is your background, so that's what I'm going to be working on today, to start everybody off on their background. So I want you to pay attention on how I mix colors and how I get started so that you can do a background along with me. I'm also ready for today with my little cup of water and my cup of coffee. Gotta have coffee. I'm just a coffee drinker. Gotta have my coffee. And I brought my spectacles in case I want to do any detail work that I can't really see, so I put these on. These are my readers, and then I could see better what I'm doing with detail, but I won't be using those right away because we're going to work on the background today. So let's get started. Since these are all new paints that I'm using, I am taking the scissors and cutting into it so that I can take the plastic off. Can't paint unless I can get it open, right? Bear with me. Okay, folks, I'm getting ready to start. I got all of my plastic off of my bottles of paint. Everything is lined up. I've got my water, and of course I've got my cup of coffee. But before we get started, I want to thank all of you for watching this channel, and I'm hoping that you will all subscribe, please, because that way I can afford to get more canvases and other items so that I can teach my class at the Watertown Senior Center on Mondays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I can teach you online. And I apologize, I haven't been very active online because we've been so busy trying to get set up at the Watertown Senior Center. I now have 7 students at the Senior Center, and this is what we're working on, is our steps to create a painting. Once you learn these steps, you should be able to create any painting, whether it be an abstract or a profile or a scenery one, no matter what you do, you have to do it in steps. So the first step is always your background. So that is what we are going to work on. I'm going to show you the first step. I'm going to show you what colors I am mixing, and I'm going to show you how I blend it, because being acrylic, I don't have a gel to keep it wetter longer like in oil paints. That's the good thing about oil paints. You can blend so well with oil paints because the paint doesn't dry right away. With acrylics, you have to get quick when you want to blend, and you have to know exactly what you're going to do ahead of time before blending so that your paint doesn't dry before you get the chance. But remember, acrylics, even if you make a mistake and you're not happy with something, you can always paint over it. Remember that. So anything that you paint is not an accident. It's painting the way the good Lord wants you to paint. He is with you and watching you, and He is so glad that you are sitting and relaxing and enjoying what life has to offer you. So that with that said, I also want to tell everybody that this is the most therapeutic and good thing that you can do in your life to keep you calm, happy, and focused, and all of the world can go by and you're unaware of it all, and you get that inner peace that you allow yourself to take time out and create. And this is what we want to do. We want to create. Also, I want you to remember to get you a good rag that you can use. And I'm going to put my paints on the back side of this canvas because my palette is at the senior center and I don't have it with me. So I'm going to use that to mix my colors in, and I've got my rag. And I also placed my painting canvases. I have a small one today. I'm placing them on top of some puppy pads, and the reason for that is if I don't want to get my brush wet with water, I might want to scrape the paint off, and I can use the puppy pad to scrape off a lot of paint if I want to just do something on the canvas without getting it wet, because these canvases are board canvases and they're thin and they're made out of cardboard. And these canvases, if they get too wet, when they go to dry, they'll start to bend. You don't want your painting to bend. So always remember, little is better than a lot. Okay, so now the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of blue paint, the darker blue, just a drop. And then I'm going to use the lighter blue, okay, just a drop. And then I'm going to use, let me see, a little bit of kind of green. This is, doesn't say what color this is. Yes, this is aqua. I'm going to use a little aqua in case I want to add a little bit of brightness in the sky. I'm not going to add clouds right now because that's another layer. So remember that. We have to do one layer at a time. So the brush that I want to use to do this is going to be my square brush, but a larger one. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit of blue and mix it in with my little bit of light blue. So I've got two colors on my brush. And this is not I'm expecting. This is more like acrylic. Wow. It's really light. The dark blue is really light, so I don't have to use the light blue at all. So I'm just going to put the paint on here. And just paint away. So you can paint along with me, starting with your blue. And this is all I'm doing is short brush strokes. You need a little bit more I'm kind of using strokes to blend it in with what I already have on the palette. So it's not just painting all the way across by streaking it, I'm just kind of adding, and I keep painting over it to blend it in with the canvas because I want to make sure I get the canvas covered. I don't want the canvas to show underneath my painting. So as you can see, my brush strokes, and I'm keeping my brush flat because it is a square brush, and I'm going along and just putting in some color. Let me show you how that looks. I know it's light, but I'm sure you can see. But this is my first layer. I'm going to go down pretty low on this one because I may add water later on. I know there are a few of you that like to do water. The only reason I don't teach too much water in the beginning when you're first beginning, because water is very tricky. And you have to really kind of know what you're doing to do the water. And it's hard to teach someone how to do the water, and with acrylics it makes it even harder because the paint dries before you get a chance to do the streaking in it to make it look real. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of green over in here. I'm just going to touch a little bit of the aqua and put it in different parts of my sky. Kind of go over everything, make sure that it all blends in good. Now that's halfway down. I really don't want to do a painting halfway down, so I want to keep going on, and a little bit more like a third of the way down. Need a little more blue. See how I only do a little bit at a time because I can always use more. You don't want to waste your paint and end up having to put it down the sink, which is not a good idea to do anyway. But you only use a little bit at a time, and you take your time and you think about how your strokes are and how pretty the sky is going to be. And like I said, we're only doing the first layer right now. I want to get down a little bit where it looks like I got most of the canvas with blue sky, because you know, I can always add grass to that when I get done. Okay. I think I'm going to make it look like there's a hill over here, so I'm not going to put, just kind of goes down like this. Alright, now I'm going to go over it and make sure that I like the way it came out. And I think I'm going to let that dry before I start my grass. I'm going to let that dry because my grass is going to go over the sky to a point, or my ground, okay? So I'll be right back and we'll work on that next. You keep painting your sky and getting it looking good. Don't worry about clouds or anything like that. Just get your background first, because the next step will be a layer that you put on top, which will be your clouds and your grass and so on and so forth. So we'll be back in a moment to show you that. I'm going to let this dry. Okay, now this is dry. This is what it looks like. Just plain blue. Alright, now I mixed a little bit of white in with my blue paint to kind of give it a grayish blue color. I don't know if you could see that. Okay. So I mixed the paint in with the blue, a little bit of light blue, okay? And I'm still wanting to do my sky, but I want to add another layer to it. So what I'm going to do with this lighter blue is I'm going to start at the top. And I'm just going to go a little bit down. And it's like going to add like a little bit of a shadow to my sky. Okay. I'm going to lightly add that to the sky, if you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to give the sky some character, so that's going to be my second layer on my sky. I need a little tiny bit of water. And I want to add some more of that darker color on this side. Not happy with that. I have to blend it out a little bit. Okay, and as you see, I'm doing longer strokes because I want it to go across the sky like that. Okay, I'm going to do a little tiny bit of water. You see how I'm using my puppy pad to take the excess off. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of go over it like this and kind of blend it all in there with my sky. A little bit of water. So you can go over what you painted as well. It just gives your sky some character. So that's going to be my second layer on the sky, because you do want to do layers. Okay, so that's pretty good. I don't want to do anything more to that. I've gotten cloudy kind of stuff in there. So when I do my clouds, I like to use this little sponge, and I'll show you how I do that. But first I'm going to start my clouds with a little bit of white paint. And I'm going to mix it with this little light blue, make it lighter. Okay, so it's still a little bit of blue, but it's a lighter blue, almost white. You don't really want to use white until you get towards the end. Okay, so I think that'll be good for my clouds. So I'm going to kind of just go over where and I'm just going to go here and there, and I'm just going to just kind of tap it. And as you can see, I'm making more streaks in the sky. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just taking this and going over the top of the dark blue and just adding some streaks to it. So it's kind of lighting it up a little bit, but it's also adding a little bit of white. When I do that, I'm done with that. I'm going to take my white paint. Oh, I'm going to take a lot of paint. It all popped out and my cap came off and I had an accident. So let's try to get this picked up really quick. Oh boy. I made a mess, folks. Okay, folks, I got that mess cleaned up and put back in the bottle. So I've got a little bit of white paint here. I'm going to put a little bit more. This time, hopefully it won't fall apart and squirt out there. The paint is thick, and when you push on the bottle, if I didn't have the bottle closed enough all the way, then the paint will push through. So now it's getting tacky. I have a toothpick here somewhere that I can use to open my bottle more. Of course, where's the toothpick? I can't find it. Oh, got paint on everything. All over my hands. Okay, let's try to scrape the cap on the bottom and see if I can get more paint. It's not coming out. So let's see if I can. Since I got paint on my hands, I might as well see if I can get this to release some paint. Okay, that's working. Okay, so I've got to find another toothpick, which is here. I put my toothpick in and kind of swirl it around, and sometimes the paint gets stuck in there and it doesn't want to come out. Okay, there we go. All right, now getting back to, got paint over there too. All right, my sponge. I'm just going to dip my sponge so that I can get some on the edge. And then I'm going to just tap. And barely make a cloud going across my canvas. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing that. Okay, so this is an experiment. You have to go slowly with it because you don't want to overdo it. So some clouds are puffy and they go up, and the sponge always works really well when you want to do clouds. Now I'm putting a little bit more on here because I want to fill these clouds in. Now I turn my sponge around a little bit because you don't want these little ridges. So to get rid of the ridges, you push the sponge down a little bit harder and spread the paint. Don't ever do this because when you do that, it kind of ruins the effect of your clouds. So you just want to, you can use the edge. You can use some of this over here. Okay, you can use the edge to define them a little better. Okay. And just do it until you like it. Once you like it, don't do any more, just stop. Okay, so I'm doing this until I like it, and I'm not liking it just yet. I like that. Okay, so now when you see these clouds, you see the variation of how it looks. This is what you want to achieve, something that looks real in the sky. Now I'm going to let that dry. And while I'm letting that dry, I'm going to take my brushes and I'm going to go to the sink and I'm going to wash them out because I don't want them to get hard because they've got too much paint on them. So remember, always wash your brushes very good and get them as dry as you can. With this, when I get it wet and get all the paint out of it, I start squeezing it to get all the water out. And then I usually use my rag to get the rest of the paint out. But this rag is got to be washed as well because I got so much paint on it because I had a spill earlier. So I'm going to go now and I'm going to wash out my brushes. By that time my sky should be almost dry. Okay, I'm back and I have my brushes all cleaned up and I'm ready to start again. So I'll put my little sponge over there and I'll use the same brush I used before. Make sure that you don't have a lot of water in it. So you use the puppy pad and it'll absorb the water out of it. Now on my palette here I mixed a little dark green, lighter green. I've got some brown and darker brown. Okay, so you know grass grows from dirt. So we want to put the dirt down first. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of the dark brown, but we're going to need water for this one because this brown is quite thick. Like I say, each one of your paints are going to be either too thin or too thick or whatever. So I'm going to start with my ground. And again, I'm using short strokes. And I have two different color browns, so I'm going to mix them together so that they're not all the same color. And just like the sky, it's going to be more than just brown. This is the first layer on the dirt. Now I can go over my sky and put it where I want. So if I want to make a little bit of a hill, I can add a hill. I can add a hill. But under the grass is your dirt, so you have to have your dirt. Also, if you decide that you want to have a path, you can make it darker. Okay, like this. And then you can make it a little bit of water. Okay, so that's starting to look a little bit like a hill going down. This is a little bit of violet mixed in with this little brown, so you can see it's a different color, but it'll all blend in. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit more dark here to kind of make my path. Darker there. I'm going to add a little bit of white. Oh, I got white over here. Mix that in with my brown. See, so I'm doing layers, and it's not all one color. Remember that. You need to make it many colors. You notice I'm dipping in the water as well because I want to create a blending of these different browns. See how nice it is and quiet and serene that you sit here and just put color on a canvas and create a beautiful background. And you could do this. You can really do this because it's not very hard to do. Okay, so now you can go over it and see if there's anything that you'd like to blend in and change, or if you're not happy with it. Now what I'm doing here is adding a little bit of shadow or shading to make it look more like a path. And whichever angle you go in, a lot of times you can create curves. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush out. And I'm going to use the pad to get the excess water off, so that's good. Time for me to have a sip of my coffee, but take a look at what you can do with a few little brush strokes. So you have your sky, and you have your clouds, and now you have your dirt. So the next layer on the dirt is your bushes and your grass. So we're going to do the grass next. So we're going to need some green paint. The green paint that I have to mix with a little bit of the aqua to turn it a little lighter, because for some reason the green paint got very watered down. But I'm going to do my best with what I got to work with, and you can too. Alright, so we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to continue on. So take a good look at that and see, this is how your painting should start to look like, okay? Okay, now I'm going to start this part of the painting with my fan brush. Reason why I'm going to do the fan brush is because it can make some grass, and it can make long streams and stems that look like it's a field, and you can use it to make little pine trees and things like that. So this brush is always good to use. To start out with, now your brush will spread out as it gets wet. So when it does spread out, what you do is you push it down on the paper and kind of wiggle it back and forth, and you'll get your brush to get flatter again. But when it gets wet, it gets separated, so you have to kind of watch it. But a little bit of water will straighten it out. Okay, so now with this, I'm going to start mixing my colors. You want to start out with the dark first. Like I said, we're doing everything in layers. So with these layers, after the brown is put down for the dirt, we're going to make the grass. We're going to start with the darker color first. So I'm kind of mixing in this color to what I would like it to be. Alright, I like that color down here, so I'm going to start with this color. You can mix the colors the way you want. I could put a little yellow in there and everything else, but that would only make it lighter. So I want to start with the dark first. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm kind of going to go up. Okay. Then I'm going to turn my brush sideways. Okay, so it's going to be going like this. Okay. The other thing I can do is a little bit of dark, is I can kind of tap a little bit on the brown with my fan brush, and I can make the ground. See how it separates? It will separate on you, so you just keep an eye on it, because if it separates too much, you want to change that. Okay, so now I'm not going to cover the brown completely, because I want you to be able to see the dirt through the brown. Okay, I'm going to kind of swish it. I have a little bit of that's a little bit lighter, but I don't want to do too light, but I want to just kind of swish this grass in here. And then again, I'm going to push up and use the bristles. So you can use your fan brush to make little strips and little grasses. Just play with your fan brush. It does all kinds of crazy things. And just do your grass or your land however you want to make it, you know, that makes you happy and satisfied with it. That's a little too light. Might have to add. No, that's all right. Okay, I'm going to stick a little bit of white in there, make it lighter. And I'm going to play with it a little bit. I'm not happy with that, but that's okay. If you're not happy with it, just get you a little more green. And shake it up. And remember, always shake your paints because sometimes they settle. And if you don't shake them up enough, you don't get enough color out and you get too much water. Now, these are acrylics and they're based on water, so easy cleanup, but sometimes the color, that one's a little bit too runny. I don't like my paints to be runny, but okay, so I'm going to go in here and make long grass. I don't like the white. I shouldn't have used so much white, but I'll get rid of it. Put a little bit more brown in there. If I overdid it, I can always go back over it and add some brown in there. See, I wasn't happy with that, so I'm going to go over it with a little bit of brown and kind of get rid of that. It's not happy. I'm not happy with it. When you're not happy with it, just go over your painting and kind of just fix it. You can fix it. Okay, that's a little better. Kind of blend it in. I don't like my green paint, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of blend this in with the back. What green I have in there. And this is what I'm doing. I'm blending right now so that you can still see my line there. Okay. Rinse my brush out really good. See, so I fixed it. I didn't like the way it was, so I done fixed it. Okay, so I got my brush washed out. See, there's no paint coming out of it at all. All right. Now I'm going to change brushes. And let's see. I'm going to use my angle brush because I want to make some bushes. Okay. So bushes are also dark brown, green, but I'm going to add a little bit of black. So let me shake up my black. I need a little black. It's kind of hard to get the cap off because this is a bigger bottle, and sometimes it gets stuck like it did this time. Oh, I got a piece of black on the floor. I'm going to throw this away, so I'm going to leave this over here and throw that away because I don't need that on there. And I'm just going to pour a little tiny bit of black paint. When you're using a big bottle, you got to be very careful because it pours out pretty quick. So I just wanted to get a little bit of black paint. I'll put this back over here. Alright, and if you get any kind of dust on your painting, make sure you get it off. Okay, so that's how it looks for now. Okay, we're getting there. So that's our first layer and second layer green on our canvas for our grass. Now the third step is to put bushes or a mountain. The reason why I say mountain is because you want to do mountains before you do bushes, if that's what you want in your painting. Since in the class we started on Mondays that we were putting mountains in, I need the black as well as the brown, so I will show you how you can do mountains. We'll use the angle brush because that'll give us a better definition of the mountain. So I'm going to use the little brown and a little tiny bit of black. And I'm going to make some mountains. But I want to make these mountains way back in the distance. So I'm just going to go down like this at an angle with my angle brush. Okay. And I'm going to need a little white with this too, so I'm going to take a little bit of white up here. Just drag it down. So I made a little mountain. Can you see that? Now to add to that mountain, I'm going to take a little bit more brown, a tiny bit of water, because that brown is kind of dry. And just go down at an angle like that. And I'm going to take a little bit of white and streak it down, barely touching. Okay. Alright, I think that's all the mountain I want to do. I don't want to do a whole lot of mountains because I'm trying to do this picture a little bit different than the one we're doing at the Watertown Senior Center. Just to give you an idea that you can do these mountains with a brush. So I rinsed this brush out, but I'm also going to use this for my bushes. Okay, so always dark first, so I'm going to take a little bit of the black and green together. and maybe a little brown. Yeah. And I'm going to start my bushes over here. Green. Yeah, I need more green, and I don't need that green. I need a different green. So let's see. I can use this blue green, I guess, in here. And a little bit of brown. Let's see if I can. And I'm just tapping the brush. Now I'm going to use a little yellow. I got to shake this up. These are new, so really when they're new, you got to shake them up because they've been sitting on the shelf for who knows how long. And if you don't shake them up, you're not going to get any paint out of them. You're just going to get water. Alright, so let's do a little bit of yellow. Okay, I just don't want that to get clumpy. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, mix it in with my green and blue, and I'm going to tap again. But I'm going to tap in different spots because I want the dark underneath. And I want a little bit more yellow. And the more you tap it in, the more it'll blend as long as your paint is wet. So you can, okay. So you're just tapping in a little bit of yellow and green together. Now I'm going to take a little black. And with the black now I'm going to be very, very careful to just do little bits. So little bits here and there where I want it to be darker. So that you can see that there's a little bit of shadow here. Gives your bushes. Notice I'm turning my brush as I do this because I want it to go in different directions to create my bushes. And if you think you have too much, just keep blending. You can always blend. of how to add something that looks like bushes. I think that came out pretty good. That's just yellow and a little brown and black. So now you might want to put a couple of rocks in there. That's another thing that we could do, but that would be another layer. So we want to make sure we get our bushes done everywhere we want them before we start on our next layer, because everything is built on top, on top, on top. So we need the bushes. Now if I want to put a tree in here, I'm not going to do bushes. That'll be my next layer, because I want to do the bushes after I do the tree, because the tree is bigger and it's going to be there first. So what I might do is leave these bushes here. I might put a couple of bushes in the background, but I'm going to use a little bit of blue, because it's as it is in the background. You want it to look further away, so you're going to use blue and yellow. Little tiny bit. You don't need a lot when you're doing a painting on a small canvas. So remember that. You don't want to waste. So I'm going to take my smaller, well no, I think I'm going to take my smaller angle brush, because this is smaller. See, this one wasn't really washed out good enough, and it's starting to get hard. But I can use this, I think. Alright, let me just make sure that this is cleaned out. Of course, my water now is getting a little bit dirty, so I'm going to replace my water. I shall be right back. Okay, I'm back with some fresh water. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. I love my coffee. And I'm going to use the smaller, let me rinse this out. See, I know I didn't rinse it all the way out. See, it's getting my water a little cloudy, but at least I did rinse it out. So I want to make sure there's no paint in that when I put it over to the side. Okay. Now I'm going to use the smaller brush, and I'm going to mix my yellow and my green here. Okay. And I think I need a little more greenish color. I need more blue. Blue and yellow make green. So I'm kind of making little pine trees. If you look with my angle brush, I can do that. Okay, and I can make them look like they're far away. All right, now I'm going to use a little bit of black in my yellow and green to add some depth and make these trees look like they're a little closer. See why I use the black? Because that makes it look like a dense forest. also looks like trees. Okay. Now you can do this. You might not think you can. But see, when I use my angle brush, I can make little trees. See that? You can do that. Just tap it like you saw me do. Okay, so you got your mountains, you got bushes, and you got some trees in the background. Now I'm going to put my big tree up. We always have to have a big tree. We don't always have to have a big tree, but I love trees. So we're going to do our tree. Again, I'm going to use the angle brush. Got it all cleaned out, my smaller one. And I'm going to start with the black, because always the darkest color first. So I'm going to put my tree, I'm going to use my angle brush this way. I'm going to put my tree here. Wow, look at that. You can do this. Now I'm going to use some brown paint and do the same thing again on the side. Okay. See how I'm doing that? That's a pretty straight tree. Oh, I'm using a little bit of water to soften up my brown. Okay, now you don't need very many branches on your tree because this one's in the springtime, so it's going to be full of leaves on the tree. So again, and I don't want to make that tree too big because this is a smaller picture. So, oops, too much water. Now I'm going to use a little bit of white in my brown for highlights. I'm going to say that the sun is going to shine on this side. So my sun is over here. So you have to decide on where you want your sun. So you just kind of do a few little blotches of white like this. Okay. And then you drag it down and blend it in a little bit. Alright, now you need a smaller brush. So here I'm going to use my detail brush after I clean this brush out really good. I'm going to use my detail brush with my white, but it's really mixed in with my brown. So, okay, so now I'm just going to touch it up. How pretty is that, huh? How pretty is that? Now you're going to put bushes. So don't forget, you don't have to go all the way up, but I usually try to do the elbows of the trees anyway, you know. Okay, so that pretty much gives you an idea of the, I might want to do a little bit more here, like this. Make it look round. Black gives you shadow and it makes it look like your tree is not flat. Okay, let's put a little knot hole in our tree. Let's do one, yeah, right here. That looks like it should have a little knot hole in it. Yeah, and then we'll outline the knot hole with the white. Looky there. Pretty? Okay, so that's the next layer. So you got your tree. Like that? I think that came out pretty good. Now we're going to put leaves on the tree. With that, I'm going to use my square brush, good size brush, because I want to do it this way to do my tree leaves. Okay, so now we're going to need a little more yellow to make green on my blue. Mix that up a little bit and see what color we got. Yeah, that's a pretty good color. Yeah, I like that color. Alright, and this is what we're going to do with our leaves. We're going to start about halfway down. And we're just going to okay, we're not going to make this tree so full that we can't really see. But see how we're going to keep on patting it and patting it and patting it. And that, you know, kind of brings our color out. We used a lot. Okay, a little more yellow. Hit this with some yellow, and again it makes it shadow, so that's what we want. We want to give it the effect that the sun is shining. Well, we're picking up brown because it's not quite dry yet, but that's okay. I'm going to be a little bit brighter yellow on this side because we want to show the sun. Okay, that's good. And there can be brown leaves too, so it doesn't really matter when the paint's not dry. Okay, we're going to use a little black to get this side a little darker. we're not going to do a lot of the black, but we're going to kind of just put it in there. Okay, now you can keep going on and on and on, but you don't want to cover up all your clouds and everything, so you have to know where to put all this stuff to, you know, make it. Now I'm going to add some of this green in here. See, the more color you add, the prettier and the more real it will look. So don't be afraid to use your color. Just remember where the sun shines is on the top of it. So just keep adding. You can turn your brush around this way and this way, you know, to make it more desirable. Okay, you can do over here underneath. Give it some shadow. Alright, I don't think I want to do more than that. I do want to do a little here. A little more yellow. The yellow adds sunshine in there. So I did a lot of it going sideways, so now I'm going to kind of do up and down on this angle with this brush. Kind of softens it and brings it out more. Okay. Alright, I think that's good enough. I don't want to do any more of that. I have to make my tree. See, when you use darker colors, your water gets dirty fast, but I got all of it out of there. I don't have too much color in my brush. I got most of it towards the end. Okay, so there is my tree. Okay, so now I want to add a little more grass and a little bit of flowers. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my fan brush, and I'm going to use some red. Because red kind of pops, so we want to pop. So we're going to do the flowers close by the trees to make it look like it's some flowers out there in the field. And again, I'm going to get me some red. And the reason why I'm going to use the fan brush is because the fan brush is separated a little bit and I can do the little polka dots kind of thing. So I'm just going to set my fan brush. I don't want too much in there, but I'm going to just touch, 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 touch over here. Okay. I'm going to get some of the yellow. Touch underneath. Alright, let's get a little purple in here. like you're looking over a grassy field and all these little things are popping up. Springtime. So you want to show all the flowers that are coming up. So you just don't want to do it in one spot. You kind of want to do a little bit everywhere. And just tapping a little bit makes it go a long way. Okay, we're going to put some flowers down in here too, but I also want to do rocks in here too, so that's another layer I want to do. So I'm just going to tap a little bit of flowers in here. Make the flowers look like they're growing by the tree. Red pops, so you definitely want to do red. Okay. Alright, I don't want to do too much because I want to make sure that I have a place to start my rocks. Alright. Our painting is coming along now, isn't it? And there, if you look real close, you can see my flowers. See, in the background by the trees, my flowers. It really looks good now, see? And it's a little painting, but it's got a lot of interesting stuff going on. Okay, so now I'm going to do a couple of rocks. I'm going to use my small square brush, and I'm going to use a little bit of white because you have to have white in your rocks. And some rocks are black and some are brown, some are gray. So my brown, where did we do my brown? I think my brown, oh, that's purple. Where's my brown? Oh, here's my brown. I have a tube of brown. Okay, see, that's thick paint. So that's why I add water to that a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start my rocks dark brown. A little bit of black. That'll make the brown darker. Now to make rocks, I'm just going to go up a little bit and down. Up and down. Up and down. Let's see. I think I'll put a rock over here. Okay, with the white paint, I'm going to use a little bit of water and the white mixed in with the brown. This brown is kind of making it gray. I don't know if I like that. So now with that, I'm just going to kind of go over the tops of them a little bit, but just a little. Okay. Now remember, the sun is over here, so we want to make it shady. Now I'm going to use a little bit of white and just barely touch it. Kind of blend that white in with the okay, that's good. Now we're going to go back to the grass, or flowers. We could do flowers or we could do grass. Let's try, I haven't done flowers on rocks, so I'm going to do a little bit of the angle brush here. No, fan brush. I'm going to use some white flowers too. So let me do, or I can mix a little bit of the red with the white and make pink. So maybe I can do that. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, kind of hard to do this to get it where you want it to look good, so we need really green. Green is kind of gone out of there. Add a little bit of green. Kind of make that grass grow up a little bit. And that color, that's okay, I guess. I'm not crazy about it, but that's all right. Good enough. All right, now I'm going to do a little bit of grass over here. I'm going to do one of these here. And some flowers on top of it. Like this, let's see. That green. Just had a little drop of green. I guess I need another drop of green. Dripping, dripping. And let it drip on your table, whatever you do. Okay. All right. It's pretty good. Okay, so now that's another layer, your flowers. That's the last layer. So I think I'm done. What do you think? Do you like my painting? Is yours looking good? Huh? I hope so. Well, I really enjoyed today. I had fun painting with you. I enjoyed doing the scenery. We did mountains, we did trees, we did flowers, we did rocks, we did grass, we did leaves. I think it came out really good in the sky. I mean, if you want to, you can even actually add another cloud, but you would do it with your sponge probably, you know. But I kind of like it the way it is, don't you? Well, guys, I've had a great time today. I hope you have. I'm reaching out to ask you if you know anyone in the DeFerriet area that church may be closing if they don't get more members. So if you know anybody in Fort Drum that might be interested in going to church, they have church services on Friday nights, which is so that you can go to your regular church on Sundays. But Friday nights from 7 to 8, 1 hour, you can worship the Lord at the Deferiate Church. If you're interested, I'll get more information on that, but I would like you to be able to have the choice of going to church. If you can't make it on a Sunday, that maybe Friday night's not a bad idea. So church services start at 7 and it's over at 8 o'clock, and it's in the little town of Deferiate, New York. I hope you can come. I would love to see you there. I go to a church also in Calcium, New York, to the community church, the Calcium Community Church. And they need members as well. Sad part is that there's so many people that are not going to church anymore, and the world is coming to an end, apparently, from what we're told. So we don't have much time. So we need to go to these churches, and we need to redeem ourselves. We need to repent of all of our sins. We need to follow our Lord. And the best way to do that is at church. So come and join us at the Calcium Community Church in Calcium, New York on Sunday. 10:30 service starts, 9:30 Bible study in the morning, or you can come on Friday nights from 7 to 8 at the Deferiate Church. I would love to see you in both places. Come sing with us, enjoy the Lord together. Well, with that said, I'm going to say goodbye for now. I really enjoyed having you at my paint class, and I hope to see you again next time. If you hit the subscribe button now, you will know when I'm going to have another class, because it'll pop up and notify you. Hit that little notification bell and follow along with our art class every day. I'll see you next time. God bless and goodbye. That could potentially